Europe is supposed to be the symbol of stability, prosperity, and fair governance. But beneath the polished facades of grand capitals and thriving markets lies a shadowy system that lets corporations and the ultra-wealthy sidestep billions in taxes, and the world almost never hears the full story. When most people think of tax havens, they imagine tiny Caribbean islands with palm trees and zero tax rates, but the hidden truth is far more unsettling. Some of Europe's wealthiest nations are at the heart of tax avoidance practices that drain revenues from public services and shift profits away from the people who actually create value: workers, consumers, and everyday taxpayers. So what exactly makes a tax haven? At its core, a tax haven is a jurisdiction that lets foreign companies and wealthy individuals shelter income through low taxes, opaque rules or loopholes that make profits disappear on paper. But here's what most people don't realize. Tax avoidance in Europe doesn't always involve exotic islands or offshore secrecy alone. It's baked into the fabric of some of the continent's most respected economies. Despite official lists aimed at slapping a tax haven label on uncooperative countries, critics argue that the system is deeply flawed. For example, research has shown that 7 EU member states, including Ireland, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, Belgium, Cyprus, Hungary, and Malta, exhibit characteristics of tax havens and facilitate aggressive tax planning that benefits multinational giants far more than ordinary citizens. Nowhere is this more striking than in Luxembourg, a tiny nation that quietly punches far above its weight. Despite its small size, Luxembourg has been implicated as a major hub for corporate tax avoidance, responsible for a significant share of global lost tax revenue. According to recent analysis, Luxembourg alone contributes billions in corporate tax losses because of systems that let companies book profits with minimal scrutiny. Meanwhile, investigations like the Open Lux project revealed that tens of thousands of offshore companies, many owned by billionaires and multinational firms, are registered in Luxembourg with little real economic activity. Across the sea in Ireland, one battle that shocked Brussels centered on Apple's tax arrangements. An EU ruling once ordered Apple to pay approximately €13 billion in back taxes after uncovering that the tech giant had essentially paid almost nothing in corporate tax on profits funneled through Irish subsidiaries for over a decade. Ireland fought back, branding the decision an intrusion into national sovereignty, but the case exposed how deep and complicated these systems have become. Then there's the Netherlands, not a hidden tax haven in the traditional sense, but a conduit through which profits flow across borders. Sophisticated corporate ownership networks show that the Netherlands plays a central role in routing money for multinational companies, amplifying tax avoidance strategies on a massive scale. Small EU member states like Malta also have their own stories of financial maneuvering. The Malta Files, a large leak of confidential documents, revealed how Malta's tax structures were used to organize aggressive tax planning, often at the expense of other EU countries' tax coffers. At the same time, the European Union's official tax haven blacklist has been criticized as weak or even a whitewash. Critics point out that major European players never show up on that list because EU countries automatically receive exemptions, even though their fiscal practices divert huge sums away from public budgets. The real cost of all this is staggering. When corporations use loopholes and complex cross-border structures to avoid taxation, governments miss out on money that could go to hospitals, schools, infrastructure, and social programs. Ordinary taxpayers often end up filling the gaps with higher personal taxes or austerity measures, while multinational giants see their profits surge. So what's the untold part? It's this. Europe's tax haven story isn't hidden in distant seas. It lives in the policies of the very countries that claim to uphold fairness and justice. And until those systems are reformed, the cycle of avoidance and inequality is likely to continue. As you consider the next time a public service is cut or taxes rise, ask yourself, whose interests is the system really serving? It might be time to look beyond the headlines and question the structures that let wealth vanish in plain sight.